All right, let's talk about histograms. How is this different from bar charts? Okay, histograms are we've got our frequency charts or our frequency bars. Okay, but how is this different from bar charts? So here we go. Here's some important information to notice about a histogram. Of course, maybe I should kind of show you a quick histogram just so you kind of have a visual of what I'm talking about. Here is an example of a histogram down here. See, there's our histogram down here. So what you should notice is that the bars touch. Now here from 60 to 65 there was a gap, but that's because there wasn't any data, okay? But those bars touch. That's important. I didn't even know that about this detail until I started teaching this class, that there's a difference between a bar graph and a histogram. We did bar graphs with categorical data like blue, red, yellow, M&Ms. I could switch those colors around. I could switch those bars around. The order didn't matter. But with histogram, this is quantitative data from numbers from 50 up to 105. They're in order. They're quantitative in order from least to greatest. So those bars go up to that value. Okay, so we've got value there. All right. So that is first the big difference between a bar graph and a histogram that you've really got to keep in mind. Okay, the bars on the histograms touch because the data is quantitative. Okay, unlike it says unlock, but it means unlike the bar graph, that is categorical data. Okay, next, make sure that you label what the x-axis value is on the bottom and then the frequency on the left. Okay, that this is the number of students, how many students there are, or just you could even just put frequency. All right. If for a lot of times, most times, you're going to need to make a frequency table first to organize your data. So we're going to get used to that, and I'm going to give you space for that as well. Okay. We will take a look at our data, and we'll want to make sure that we divide it into equal bin sizes. So what I'm going to do is figure out what the range is. What's the highest to the lowest, lowest to the highest. And then I'm going to say, oh, I want to make about 5 to 10 bins. So I want to make them all this wide. Okay. And then you just count how many should go in that bin. We'll talk about this piece of data shortly when I get to something about a specific place a bar falls or a data falls if it's right on the edge of a bar. Okay, so here we go. Let's do this. So here we have the last statistics exam, and we're going to make a histogram out of it, but I've got quite a bit of data here. So here's the process that I'm going to go through. I'm going to create a frequency table, and then I'm going to plot the data. So let me show you that. So here we go. Let me get something here that I can cover up some things and do a little piece at a time so I can do reveals. And so what I have here, so first thing, figure out the span of your data. What kind of data are we dealing? Kind of like whenever we did our box plots and you needed to know what the scale was. So the max is 100 and the minimum was a 55. So I say to myself, okay, then that's a span of 45 because 100 minus 55 is 45. So, and then I want you to think to yourself, I want to make it about 5 to 10 bins. Okay, kind of like with our stem plots, 5 to 10 bins. So I guess I decided to make my bins go by fives because that's going to give me 9 or 10 bins. Okay, so that's the thought process I went to. So with that, then I came over here and I made, look at this frequency table. So here's a frequency table. So I'm going to do this 55 to 60. 60 to 65, 65 to 70, and so on. Okay, so start writing that in, but then we have to look at a detail. Here we go. This bar, this first one, is going to go from 55 up to, but less than, 60. Up to, but less than, see, up to, but less than 60. This means no 60s in this bar. There are no 60s in this bar. Where did the 60s go? In here. This one goes from 60 up to 65, but not including 65. 65s are here. This one goes 65 up to 70, but not 70. 70s are in this bin. 70 up to 75, but there's no 75s in that one. 75s are in this bin. Okay? You have got to make sure that you are clear on which numbers go in those bins and which one next to it, if it goes into the one next to it or not. Okay. So here we go. Let's take a look at this then. So I just came up here and I started doing tally marks. So I said, okay, so I've got 77, that goes in this bin. 81, that goes in this bin. 77, and so on. 84, and there on. And so then I started making a tally. And once I got finished with tallying up all the data, I had 3 in the first bin, none in this second bin. 1, 1, 4, 10, 3, 10, 6. Okay. All right. So there is the organization of my data into those bins. Really important. No 65s in here. The 65s are here. No 65s. No 70s. They're here. No 80s. They're here. No 90s. They're here. Okay. Keep that straight. Because then when we come over here to come and do our histogram, here's how this looks. So first, I labeled. These are my statistics exam grades. Okay, now take a look at how these numbers go. A 55 is on this line. 60 is on this line. 65 is on this line. Okay, so let's take a look at what's in this bin right here. This bin are 55s up to 60s, but not any 60s. Do you remember where the 60s are? They're in this bin. So the 60 is to the right of that number. Okay? So for example, this bin is from 60 up to 65, but there are no 65s. There are no 65s in that section there. The 65s would be in that bin. Okay, and that's because here, see, there were no 65s there. They were in the next one. All right, take a look. Let's do the 75 to 80. Here, 75 to 80. There are no 80s in that bin. If you're in 80, you are in the next bin here. Again, let's do 85 to 90. 85 to 90. Okay, that's from here to here. There are no 90s in that bin. The 90s go in the next bin. Okay, very important. All right, so once you do that, notice I have frequency over here on the left. And once I've got that done, then here I have my marks, and I just made it go up to the top and then colored it in. That part's easy. It's getting everything in the right bin first. That's difficult. Okay, that's histogram. Let's see if we can't practice those. So here we go. You practice that on these here. And so I'll give you a few minutes and we'll come back and we'll check and see how you did.